that we'd like to accomplish, and then open it up primarily to questions. I believe, as all of you know, Westlands is a district of approximately 615,000 acres. And you say, wait a minute, I thought it was 605,000 acres. Well, that was true, but a number of years ago, Westlands bought all of the land in Broadview Water District. We have annexed that land into Westlands, and so today we're a district of approximately 615,000 acres, of which approximately 500 to 530,000 acres are irrigated. It depends on the year. 2009 was a horrendous year. In that year we had over 260,000 acres of land that otherwise would have been, I don't need that, thank you. Is anybody having trouble hearing me? Okay. We have, in 2009, we had over 260,000 acres of land that otherwise would have been planted that was fallow because of inadequate water supplies. But our water supply is used primarily for irrigation. We do have some municipal and industrial use. In fact, the water you're drinking here is water supplied by Westlands. We supply water to most of the commercial developments on Interstate 5 within our boundaries. We serve water to the Naval Air Station Lemoore and other small communities within the district. But predominantly, it's used for irrigation. The primary source of our water is the Central Valley Project. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. Who wanted to know about Trinity River?
Everybody.
Everybody. Well, we'll talk about that. But our supply of water is the Central Valley Project. You know, historically, the Central Valley Project was operated differently than it was today. Today, the CVP is operated as an integrated project. Historically, that was not the case. And in fact, today, Friant is being integrated into the rest of the operations of the CVP. Until a few years ago, it was an isolated facility. But as I'm sure you heard on your tour of the east side, Friant is now releasing water into the San Joaquin River, and there are efforts to recapture that water and to recirculate that water as part of a water management program. So in fact, Friant is becoming a part of the integrated Central Valley Project. Historically, the demand for water in Westlands Water District was approximately 1.4 million acre-feet of water annually. Our contract supply was 1.15 million acre-feet, so even in years when we got 100% of our supply, we needed additional water. Prior to 1992, we typically got 1.4 million acre-feet of water from the Bureau of Reclamation. We not only got our full contract supply, but then there was supplemental water that was available to us on top of that full contract supply. So we were able to obtain and utilize that 1.4 million acre-feet. Since 1992, as you are all aware, there have been significant restrictions placed on the operations of the project that have significantly reduced the amount of water available to the project. And as a consequence, there has been a tremendous incentive to conserve. And so today, the demand for water within the district is less than 1.4 million acre-feet. Of course, it varies from year to year, and it varies from crop to crop. But I don't think that there will ever be a day when we will get 1.4 million acre-feet of water from the Central Valley Project within the boundaries of Westlands. And frankly, today we don't need 1.4 million acre-feet. You saw today miles and miles and miles and miles. My colleague Jason Peltier says that there's enough drip tape in Westlands Water District to extend to the earth, from the earth to the moon and back. And if you stop and think about it, that might not be too much of an exaggeration, because virtually every crop in Westlands today, whether it's permanent crops, row crops, cotton, is all grown with drip. You probably saw some sprinklers operating today. There's a lot of pre-irrigation that's going on, but in the heat of the summer, at the peak of the irrigation season, everything is done with drip systems in Westlands. So there has been tremendous conservation, and as a result, our demand for water has been reduced. But regardless of how much conservation we undertake in the district, the demand for water within the district cannot be met through the existing operations of the Central Valley Project. And so we have been involved over the course of the last 15 years in efforts to restore our supply through the CalFed program, Delta Conservation Plan through a number of efforts to restore the supply that we get from from the project. And I'm hopeful that those efforts will someday be successful so that our farmers can reasonably expect to get a 75 to 80% supply from the project in a normal year. I mean, it's remarkable. We are on track to have one of the wettest years on record in the state, and the farmers in Westlands Water District have a 75% allocation. That is a reasonably good allocation, but the way that they got it this year does not allow for good management of a farming operation. The initial allocation was 50%. And then, so the farmers, when they were making their decisions, had to assume that they were going to get a 50% water supply from the Bureau of Reclamation. When they went to the banks to get their financing, they assumed that they were going to get a 50% water supply. In fact, they were going to the banks earlier than February when we get our initial allocation. And so they were assuming at that time that they might get 35 to 40% of their water supply. So as time went along, decisions were made, crops were planted, and our water supply increased. So a week ago today, our water supply went from a 65% allocation to a 75% allocation. And for those of you who are with the Bureau of Reclamation, I don't mean to suggest we're not grateful for that increased supply. We are. It will do a number of things. It will enable some farmers to plant additional crops like fall lettuce, melons in the summer, sweet corn in the summer. But for many farmers, that water came too late. I spoke to a farmer today who related that had he known that he was going to get that 65 or 75% supply in February, he could have planted an additional 1,000 acres. And that additional 1,000 acres would have produced not only food, but would have produced, I think, from my perspective, more importantly, it would have produced jobs. And because there is absolutely no flexibility left in the operation of the CVP, we don't know what our water supply is going to be, regardless of how wet it is.